Hey everybody, welcome to Twitch and Box Sports Talk. We're here at the Backstage Pass. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on here for Week 10 in the NFL. I got Twitch and Box themselves, and again, special guest Finn here, going to weigh in on a couple games. So where do you want to start there, Big Willie?
We're going to start a little bit out of order this week, but we're going to start off with Players of the Week here. My Offensive Player of the Week, have to give it to old man Joe Flacco, going 31 of 47 for 470 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. His wide receiver pair had 121 and 2 for T, and Jamar had 111 for 6. So, very shout out Joe Flacco for still slinging the rock down there in Cincinnati. Granted, their defense didn't help him out at all, with the Bears putting up 47 points and giving up a last-second touchdown in very Bears fashion, or in very Bengals fashion. And then they traded away their inside linebacker today, so you can only imagine that defense is only going to get worse somehow. But that's my Offensive Player of the Week. Shout out Joe Flacco for still slinging the rock out there.
That's a solid pick. He said 470, 4 TDs, and the game-winning touchdown. I mean, had they held on to that, they got 2 touchdowns in the final less than 3 minutes to take the lead. 42-40. Was it 42-41?
Yeah,
I think so. It was when they took the lead.
Yeah, and then they somehow.
My Offensive Player of the Week. There's a couple different guys, Matthew Stafford, a couple other guys that were that I thought about this week. But I'm going to go with Sam Darnold of the Seahawks on Sunday night primetime. 21 of 24 for 330 and 4 touchdowns. He did have 1 pick. And then also, but I mean, that was at the half. I think he was 16 of 16. So Sam Darnold picking up where he left off last week, and Seattle's really been humming since they came off the bye. So, that was my Offensive Player of the Week. I'm going Sam Darnold this week.
Yeah,
Only 3 incompletions.
which is crazy in the NFL game to even talk about in general.
Yeah.
But then you throw that, But my Defensive Player of the Week, my Defensive Player of the Week, actually I'm going to let Twitch start this because he took my original Defensive Player of the Week because I was going to give it to TJ for a great game. But
Sure. I'm, as hard as I am on my own team, this one's kind of cheating because I'm going to give it to the whole entire unit, but I'm going to give it to the Steelers defense, biasly. But after a very lackluster performance against the same Joe Flacco and those Bengals 2 weeks ago, and then allowing 20 straight completions last week, and then they have the number 1 offense in the NFL, best offense in the last 25 years through 8 games, and Pittsburgh had 3 or 4 sacks and forced 6 turnovers on the Colts. So with that, T.J. Watt adding a sack and another strip fumble where he got the recovery himself. Second-year player Peyton Wilson, fast linebacker from NC State, also had an interception and a tip pass and a sack. So he was everywhere to where they actually drug tested him after the game.
Yeah.
So, So I could give it to a couple of different guys. I said there were some other individual performances I watched this week across the league. But I'm going to give it to the Steelers defensive unit just because they were under heavy scrutiny. There was even, I don't know how many people got to see that because it was all over Facebook, not even just Steelers fans. But since it was a Pittsburgh home game, they were having a ceremony for the death of the Steelers defense. And so that tells you what kind of state they'd got to. And it was in front of Pittsburgh was in front of the 2005, which was obviously known for their defense, their 2005 Super Bowl team. So to have that kind of performance against those players, I'll have to give credit where credit's due this week. So I was happy to see that. Hopefully they can continue it.
yeah, I was very. Read a little too much into the 05 Steelers being there. That's why they won. But my defensive kind of going off the same kind of cheating here in the same way. I'm gonna give it to the Bills defense because there was no individual star from that game. Defensively, I mean, they held Mahomes to 250 and had 1 interception, so they kept him out of the end zone. Kareem Hunt got in, and then Rashee Rice got one on that little touch pass. But the Bills' defense for coming out and shutting down a guy who's been notoriously a problem for them, obviously. I mean, everybody looks back to the 13 seconds, or even last year in the game that they played, Mahomes had that little scramble to the left that should have been tackled by 5 different guys, but just put a little shake on him. But getting 3 sacks on Mahomes, getting that interception in the game was huge to keep them in the game. The Chiefs' offense clearly, after this game, I think it kind of exposes that it's not what it has been, obviously. It's not as explosive as it has been. So, shout out the Bills' defense for stopping Mahomes.
Yeah.
Because they were hot rolling into here, and they rolled up there and got it done. That's going to take us into our fan favorite, what made us Twitch of the week. There's plenty of options this week. I feel like this week had a lot of things that could possibly make you twitch. There's so many. What was gonna make me twitch was the Raiders going for 2 there at the end. But I also, if that was my team, I'd like the call. Why not win it instead of try to tie it, especially with how lackluster your team has been. Yeah. But what made me twitch this week, it wasn't necessarily from this weekend, but today, Jerry Jones made me twitch for sure. Coming out and saying, yeah, we're making a blockbuster trade. We're going to shore up this defense and then trade for old Quinnen Williams and a depth piece at Logan Wilson at linebacker. And also I saw a clip. I didn't know he actually said this until today when I actually went and looked up the clip. But Jerry Jones says, yeah, it is about me. I want the NFL's eyes on me. Good or bad, I don't care. Which I don't.
Totally fitting.
Yeah. It makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's just Jerry Jones to a T. But also, if that was my team, I'd be like, wow, this guy does not need to be involved in the football operation sides of things then. Because you don't want somebody who's worried about how he looks personally running your team. You want somebody who wants to do what's best for the team. Which I'm not saying what they did today was bad. I'm just saying it wasn't what he promised or what you would assume they would try to do with how good their offense has been this year.
Right.
But yeah, definitely what made me twitch happened today.
My honorable mention was going to be the Cowboys. The fact that you have a golden opportunity with that offense against a 2-6 Cardinals team and just completely shit the bed the way they did last night. But Finn, I'm sorry, buddy, it ain't nothing personal. So, but I think mine honestly is going to be the Bengals defense. You give up 47 points. You have the 2 touchdowns, like I said, within the last 3 minutes, and then the Bears have to go whatever it was, 75 yards.
Yeah. And they didn't even make them drive. It was a big touchdown.
They did it with 17
end.
seconds left. They had 50 seconds to do it, and they did it with 17 seconds left to spare. And what makes it even worse is after they allowed Williams to get to the outside on the play right before that and call their last time out to put him up almost midfield. Granted, they only needed a field goal to win, but I think they were at their own 40-yard line, and there were 3 Bengals that were within the – it was a hell of a catch, but still, there were 3 Bengals right there. So at the very least, you should at least have a guy. Like how he came down with the ball, but then just all 3 run into each other like the 3 Stooges, and then – as soon as they're about the 30 to 25-yard line, it was clear as day it was going to be a touchdown. It wasn't like it was close. Are they going to get down in time? Are they going to no? It was not only did you give up with 3 guys there, which is inexcusable, but it's the NFL. But to then not have anybody back behind and just that wide open for touchdown, I don't blame Jamar Chase and T. Higgins for calling out that defense. I said that is to me inexcusable. You're still looking at a Bengals team the last 2 weeks because of the defense are 3-6, and I'm sorry to say, I'm glad they lost both games. But they should have won both games. They could be sitting out there at 5-4 and a half game back at Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And it's because of their defense that they're sitting there at 3-6 and have the comfort to get rid of somebody like Logan. I know that Wilson wasn't happy there over the last month, but I think Cincinnati's they're not throwing in the towel yet. I said, but they're getting close, and I said their defense is a huge reason for it. At the beginning of the season, it was obviously a combination between Burrow being hurt and Browning not being that good, and the line and their defense. But it's pretty obvious over the last 4 weeks that Cincinnati's offense has been much, much better. That was my things that made me twitch. It did, then it didn't because it's a division rival. But, if I'm sitting there as a Bengals fan, I said that's inexcusable.
Yeah, very much so. All right. We're going to roll into a couple injuries. Kind of a bad injury week for at least across the board. Couple injuries. C.J. Stroud goes down with a shoulder injury. I haven't seen the report how long he's going to be out, but he's at least out for this next week or expected to be out. Joe All, offensive tackle, out for the Chargers indefinitely or at least for a long period of time with a high ankle sprain again. Same ankle that he hurt a couple weeks ago and came back and played on, which is part of the reason they traded for Trevor Penning today, I'm guessing, to shore up that offensive tackle spot on an offensive line that's already kind of tore up. Luke McCaffrey broke his collarbone, so even less wide receiver weapons there up there in Washington. Marshawn Lattimore tears his ACL, so cornerback for the Washington Commanders also out for the rest of the season, so that hurts that defense. Jalen Daniels dislocated his elbow. Very gruesome to watch. It was on his non-dominant arm, though, so it will be interesting to see how long that injury he's going to be out for before they let him come back and play. Tucker Kraft, big tight end on the rise so far this year, out for the rest of the season with an ACL injury, so that hurts that Packers offense, who lost this week to the Panthers. Mikael Williams, 49ers defensive tackle, first-round pick from this last year, out with an ACL injury at MetLife Stadium, believe it or not. So maybe we should think about changing something at MetLife with all the knee injuries we're having down there. Travis,
there seems to be an NFC East problem between the Giants and the Redskins.
yeah,
Or Commanders.
Yeah.
Sorry, but
I saw a graphic today that, on that one side of the stadium for the Commanders, that's where RG3 went down, Marshawn Lattimore went down.
the exact yard marker.
Yeah. What's his name?
Alex Smith,
Adrian Peterson,
Yeah.
just list of guys, big name studs that have been hurt at that single end of the stadium,
Yeah.
which is crazy to think about.
Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt. Sorry.
Yeah, no, MetLife's the same way.
Yeah.
We talked about it a couple weeks ago. Neighbors went down, OBJ went down. This guy just went down, first round draft pick. So
Yeah.
I don't know what's wrong with the turf at MetLife, but maybe we should change it, guys.
Right.
Travis Hunter, first round pick, Jacksonville wide receiver cornerback, out with a knee injury for a little bit. Not out for the season yet, but be on the lookout for that one. And then not the most interesting, but kind of a funny one to me is Kyler Murray, out for 5 to 6 weeks with a foot injury that's been kind of lingering. I think it's because the new Call of Duty comes out next week and he just doesn't want to play football anymore. He just wants to go play Call of Duty with his friends. But yeah, I think
All his classmates.
Yeah, all of his classmates. I think the biggest.
The rest of the Lollipop Guild. Okay, I'm sorry.
Jeez. I think the biggest name on here for sure has to be Jalen Daniels going out with that dislocated elbow. For sure, definitely changes the course. Marcus Mariota, we talked about, is a serviceable backup who can come in, play some decent ball when he needs to, but he's obviously past his spot in the game of being number one. So it'll be interesting to see what the Commanders' outlook looks like for the rest of the season, for sure. And then, Travis Hunter's interesting. It'll be interesting to see if Kyler Murray is the Arizona Cardinals quarterback coming next year, especially with how it's been this year. And we saw last night they can beat decent teams when they need to. Because they upset the Cowboys last night on national TV. That some people didn't get to watch because of this ESPN YouTube TV debacle.
Well, so that's what I was messaging you. Sorry to bring it to the podcast, but that's what it was because I have YouTube TV and the NFL ticket. So I was like, why am I not getting the game? Because I watched every other game, but then I saw later that it was because
they're having contract or whatever
dispute.
Come on, guys.
Yeah,
It's okay. You can miss Saturday, but you can't miss Monday because it's the NFL. That's your big money maker.
Right.
And it's the Cowboys who kind of talking about the Cowboys here kind of leads us into our question of the week. So since the Cowboys suck now, because Cowboys have not been back to the Super Bowl since whenever they won their last one in the 90s. I think they won 3 playoff games since then. Probably maybe it's something crazy stat like that. So that takes us into our next question is, since the Cowboys are terrible, who would you say is America's team now? And me and LSV, we had a conversation earlier, and we both agreed that it would be the Detroit Lions. I feel like Detroit Lions would be consensus.
Yeah.
Just to think about where they came from the 0-16 season they had, or the 1-15 season they had. I don't think they ever went completely over. Or I think they maybe went over with Orlovsky when they was quarterback.
Yeah.
But anyways, the Lions coming down from the trenches, they get this new the new coach, Dan Campbell, who promises on his press conference that he's going to turn it around. And they have a couple of rough seasons, but then they trade for Goff for Stafford, and they get some. They build what is, you could say, is a super team if they can stay healthy.
Yeah.
So I think the Lions would be, quote, America's team if they ever. It's never going to get rebranded just because it's the Cowboys. But if it was ever to get rebranded, I think they would be America's team.
I think it changes. I'm glad you said that, but you can probably hear I was thinking the same thing would be the
Yeah.
Lions because of blue collar city, lovable losers, underdog story, and just like to me they're the most fun. They're the most fun team to watch for me. So I would say the Lions now. I think I would say before that it would have been the Patriots because just like the Cowboys. It's like you either love them, you're a Patriots fan, or you hate them, but you were watching every week.
Yeah.
And especially that first Super Bowl, I think most people, before the cheating allegations and all that stuff, they were kind of the blue collar. They didn't have a lot of superstars, but they won by, as cliche as it sounds, by team. Or the way they won that first Super Bowl, underdogs in every game. And so I feel like, and that was right after 9/11. So I feel like the Patriots would be before. And before that, I am again going biased. I would say going back to the 70s and 80s. Fun fact, you can look it up if you don't believe me. But Pete Rozelle, 1970 owner during the 1970s, the league commissioner, I should say, not owner. I guess it's still the owner.
Yeah.
Had actually approached Art Rooney Sr., the old owner with the Stogie, and actually asked him right in the middle of Pittsburgh, who won 4 Super Bowls in 6 years, had asked Art Rooney to be, before the Cowboys, they beat the Cowboys twice in the 70s in those Super Bowls, but they had asked about making Pittsburgh America's team. Steel industry before it went out, blue collar, a bunch of unnamed guys, and you had Mean Joe Green, so a lot of people were either Cowboys or Steelers fans, but long story short, they asked Art Rooney for the Steelers to be on NFL Films. That's when NFL Films first came out, and Pete Sable and them had asked Pittsburgh to be the America's team, and Art Rooney looked at him dead in the eyes and said, "We're not America's team. We're Pittsburgh's team. We're the Pittsburgh Steelers." So I think that's it's a fun story.
Yeah.
Because the Cowboys are, they're America's team. Yeah, because we turned it down. So anyway, I just want to throw that little tidbit in there.
Did not know that.
Yeah, look it up. You don't believe me.
I believe you 100%. I mean, you know your Steelers knowledge.
Little history lesson.
Dan Winstead, who used to be a Pittsburgh player, not for the Steelers, but for the university, and he also used to be a coach and also coached for the Dolphins. If you look him up, he actually talks about that story. He said, we're not America's team. We're the Pittsburgh Steelers. So anyway.
Look at you smiling over there.
Yeah.
Can't wait for the state of the Steelers.
Yeah. We're back.
Right.
Until we get to the picks.
Whoa. Yeah, exactly.
But it's got dropped a truth bomb. I had no clue about that. That's wild to think that the Steelers could have been America's team.
Yeah.
Anyways, Aiden Hutchinson got re-upped this year, or not re-upped this year, re-upped last week. Got a 4-year, $141 million guaranteed deal. So defensive end up there, Michigan guy, played at University of Michigan, obviously, gets re-upped, get a huge pass rushing deal, which takes him there for another 4 years. I'm guessing that Hutch will be there the rest of his career unless something happens to Campbell. I mean, that was his first pick that he ever made, so I think they're gonna be tied at the hip for the rest of their career, but well deserved for Hutch, especially after the gear he had last year with the broken leg, and coming back this year, and his stats are not necessarily reflecting his play on the field, because he's earned himself double teams, and he's getting chipped by tight ends or running backs every play, so
Yeah.
big Hutch.
Yeah. No. Well deserved, having a breakout year 2 years ago after being a star in college. He said, like you mentioned, a Michigan guy. And then last year I can't remember what he had, 6 or 7 sacks through the first 3 weeks before getting hurt. So was on a tear to start off the season, was leading the NFL in sacks. And then, like you said, making his presence known since he's been back, from whatever it was, a game or two hurt this year. But solidifies that defense. He's the heart and soul of that defense, and in a lot of ways, the Lions. So, a guy like that, he deserves it. Like you said, I think you're right. Like somebody like that, with contracts going up, especially on the defensive side of the ball, well, just in general.
Yeah.
I was happy to see them stay in Detroit, because I'm hoping that they'll be relevant for a while.
Yeah. Again, America's team, man. Is happy to talk.
Get to see him on Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Used to think you see them on Thanksgiving just for them to lose, but now it's actually interesting.
Right. That's going to be hell of a game. They're going to get the Packers this year on
Yeah,
Thanksgiving.
it'll be a
So-
really good game. Going to roll into the recap a couple games from this last week. We're going to start out with probably the most watched game this week is the Bills get a win over the Kansas City Chiefs 28-21. And that score does not necessarily reflect how that whole game went. I feel like the Bills were in control from early on, got up, and I feel like the Chiefs were kind of just struggling for any kind of help. But Mahomes goes for 250 with an interception. He only ran the ball one time though, 5 yards. So shout out to him for taking the ball out of his hands in that situation. Kareem Hunt goes for 49 and a touchdown. Rashee Rice gets 2 for 6 and a touchdown with another 80 through the air. Hollywood Brown has 73 yards. TK goes 4 for 66, and then Worthy gets kind of shut down for 3 for 23. The Bills, on the other hand, Josh Allen, 273 and a touchdown. James Cook has a over 100-yard game again for 114 yards. Josh Allen gets 2 rushing touchdowns. Ty Johnson gets another touchdown in there. Dalton Kincaid leads them in receiving yards. So kind of that backup wide receiver, him and Dawson Knox, I feel like go back and forth about who gets the reps during the weeks. But Dalton Kincaid gets 101 yards in a tutty, and Shakir for getting another 43 yards through the air. So, yeah, I mean, this game, the score is a lot closer than the game actually reflected. But it's just very, I don't know. If you're a Chiefs fan, I think the playoffs started today. The Chiefs are out of the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the whole year, I feel like everybody's been, the Chiefs will figure it out. Don't worry about it. But I feel like now it's kind of a little bit of maybe a panic starts setting in if you're a Chiefs fan of, oh, well, we dropped this game. That was an important game. And our schedule going down the stretch isn't getting easier as we go out here.
Yeah. No, I agree. I feel like I feel like the Bills from the get-go had control of the game and just felt like the whole game, even the first half, that Kansas City was just struggling to try to keep up and make plays happen. Just inconsistent on offense, I felt. And then, for Buffalo, he said getting multiple guys involved early and often, like defense getting pressure on Mahomes constantly. Like you kind of touched on the fact of not letting him run wild. Kareem Hunt had some good runs, but overall keeping the run game in check. So kudos to the Bills for that. I still feel like the Chiefs, like you said, I don't know if they're necessarily panicking yet, just because you still have 15, and I still think they're going to go on more of a run. I still think they'll make the playoffs. But as far as where I had them number 2 to start off the year as the 2 seed, and just winning that division, everybody kind of, no offense, laughed at you. We both had Denver as a playoff team, but I didn't take anybody winning the AFC West. I said, but Kansas City being 2 games back and the Broncos having the Raiders on Thursday,
Yeah.
and then the first of those 2 games against them after the bye, first of 2 matchups between those 2 being in Denver. Kansas City's margin for error, I feel like, as far as the division, definitely got a lot closer. So, yeah, it's disheartening because, you have teams like the Colts and the Patriots, and now you have the Bills that are up 2 games plus the tiebreaker, so essentially 3 on the Chiefs. It stinks, but they've made it to the Super Bowl on the road before. It's still, it's still a tough loss. I said, but really more than anything, they don't have time. I said hopefully they regroup after the bye week. I said, but if they want to win the division, I still think they'll make the playoffs, and I still think honestly they'll win the division. I said, but the margin for error is definitely lower because Denver's schedule being easier, on top of Denver being legit. So, I think if you're a Chiefs fan, it's disheartening to see. I said, but there's no shame in losing at Buffalo. There's no moral victories in the NFL, especially when you're somebody of the caliber of the Chiefs. But it'll be really interesting to see what they do after the bye, because in the next 2 games are against the Colts and the Broncos in reverse order.
Yeah.
But,
It'll be interesting to see how that goes for sure.
Yeah.
Another game that ended in a way did not expect. The Vikings upset the Detroit Lions 27-24. I feel like interdivision, you can't really call it an upset just because you see each other twice a year. They always feel like some of these games always split. But we'll start with the Lions here. Jared Goff, 2 touchdowns, 284, no interceptions. David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, I think, are the story of this game. Only combining for 65 total rush yards and a touchdown. Really I feel like if that run game's going, they're going offensively. But Laporta had himself a good game with 97 yards and a receiving touchdown, and St. Brown with the same amount of yards at 97 but no touchdown. And then J-Mo Williams gets in the end zone for 66 yards and a touchdown. So, I mean, I think that run game is how Detroit goes, and they obviously shut them down. J.J. McCarthy returning this week, 148 yards, 2 touchdowns, and interception. He was sacked 5 times, though, which is mildly concerning for a quarterback who's been injury-prone the last 2 years to get hit another 5 times or get sacked another 5 times. That's not even QB hits. Aaron Jones coming back off injury as well for 78 yards, but also tore up his shoulder again, so it'll be interesting to see if he comes back healthy. Jordan Addison, 48 yards, and then Jay Jettis getting in the end zone for 1 with 47 yards through the air. So, obviously not a huge stat game there for the Vikings, but figured out to get a way to get a good division win against the Lions. That run game really couldn't get going. I was surprised by this game. I remember watching it, and then I just figured the Lions will explode at some point, and then they let the Vikings stick around too long, and then the Vikings got that interception there in the second, and I feel like that was kind of the turning point where it was kind of back and forth until the end.
Yeah, big win for Minnesota, keeping in the playoff hunt and closing that gap a little bit. Detroit had an opportunity to really pull away and keep up with Green Bay. It helps that Green Bay lost, obviously, as well. But for me, I think the story of the game, you kind of touched on it too, was holding Gibbs and Montgomery to less than 70 yards. I said that I feel like that's what, of course, they have Williams and some of those other, and St. Brown and those other good wide receivers for Detroit. But I feel like it all starts with, and Goff's been a great point guard, but it starts with that 1-2 punch at running game, and they really did a good job keeping those guys contained on top of, other than maybe the second half against Chicago earlier in the year, didn't know what to expect of J.J. McCarthy, and J.J. McCarthy making the plays at the end of the game to take the lead for the touchdown and to also ice the game. Mm-hmm. So if you're a Vikings fan, you have to be encouraged by that. Tough loss, like you said, but divisional games, you see upsets happen all the time. It stings because I really thought, we joked about it last week, but that's what makes the NFL the NFL.
Yeah, very much so.
Was, Detroit thinking it was going to be another Detroit-Chicago blowout. But kudos to Minnesota for how badly they played against the Chargers, and then to come back and play Detroit in Detroit and to beat them is huge for them. Like I said, to keep them in the thick of, in the hunt for the playoff race.
Yeah. And so it'll be interesting to see what Vikings we actually get for the rest of the year.
Right.
But rolling into another game that turned out to be the most interesting game that I don't think a lot of people were necessarily watching. But the Chicago Bears beating the Cincinnati Bengals 47-42. We'll start with the Bengals here. Obviously, I already talked about old man Joe Flacco going 470, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Chase Brown going 11-37 on the ground. T. Higgins and Jamar Chase both going over 100, with T. Higgins getting 2 of those touchdowns. The Bears, on the other hand, had four players throw passes during the game. So Ben Johnson definitely pulling out that Detroit Lions style. I mean, he was the offensive coordinator, obviously, but pulling out the Detroit style plays. Caleb Williams for 280 and 3 touchdowns. Tyson Baggett, the backup quarterback, throws 1 for 20 yards. DJ Moore gets a passing touchdown, little 2-yard completion. Kyle Monaghy goes for 176 yards on the ground, so backup running back since Swift was hurt this week. Colston Loveland icing the game with a long touchdown there at the end, leading the team in reception for 118 yards and 2 touchdowns. Dang, Doomsday going 0 for 0?
Yeah.
Anyways, DJ Moore having his coming out party for 72 yards, and then Caleb Williams catching a touchdown there. I saw a guy that put 10 cents on him to catch a touchdown, and he won like $27,000 just because of the crazy odds.
Wow.
Which, who would even think to go put out a bet like that?
Right.
But anyways, I mean, this game was a crazy game. I remember I didn't think it was going to be much of a game, so I had no intention of watching it at all. And Chicago was up big at one point, and then did the most Bengals thing possible. They came back and gave them a good scare. I mean, so the Bengals scored with 49 seconds. The Bears went down and scored in 4 plays, 72 yards, and caused an interception on the against.
Yeah, no, I feel like it was definitely the game of the week. I mean, I knew that I thought that it'd be close. It'd be an entertaining game because I didn't know which one to go because it's like what Chicago team, and Chicago, other than 1 or 2 weeks, has played pretty good on offense. Caleb Williams played pretty well, like I said. Kudos to him for the 3 touchdowns and the creativity on offense, and then also keeping his composure and for making the big first down play and the clutch throw to get the Bears the win. So that, to me, that stands out. Doesn't matter what defense you're playing, still NFL defense.
Yeah.
But Chicago putting up 47, and then on the flip side, the Bengals, I said, like, they put up 42. I mean, this is the third week that they put up almost 40 some points, and then they put up, I think, 18 against the Packers. So compared to what they started off the year. Like I said, I thought it'd be close, but I mean, what a back and forth game. Cincinnati literally starting the game off with a return for a touchdown, and then I said then Chicago kind of took control in the second and third quarter and kind of took the lead, like kind of was up by a couple scores, and then kudos to the Bengals for coming back and getting the 2 touchdowns
in 5 minutes.
Yeah,
And then still
lose, but down 24-41 and still get the win. So, that's all I got. And I said that was, kudos to, like I said, Williams for making the plays, making the throw, and getting 47 on the board. I don't care what defense you're playing. So I feel like Chicago's here going to be fighting for. I think you picked them a couple weeks ago last week to be the 7th seed. So that they're going to be, I think they're there for the long haul. And for Cincinnati, it's just kind of, I said it's been much more competitive, but due to the defense, I said they had a real opportunity to really still be in the thick of it. Because that's the thing. If they're within 1 game in mid-December when Burrow comes back with 3 or 4 left, they'd probably play him. But now it's getting to the point where the Bengals are going to lose just being frank, they're going to lose another game or 2 and then be out of the playoff hunt. So, we'll probably not see Burrow in the season.
And let him rest.
So,
rolling into our upset alert of the week. The upset alert now moves to 4-1 after this game, with the Carolina Panthers getting it done against the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field. Bryce Young has a not a good game for 102 yards and an interception. Rico Dwandle, who I actually found out this week is not a rookie. He's been in the league for a couple years, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he played for the Cowboys and some other teams. I had no clue. I thought he was a rookie that just came out of nowhere, running for another 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. The rest of these stats, not good. McMillan, 46 yards. Dondal caught 1 for 22. The Packers really just lost this game. I mean, I don't really necessarily think the Panthers won it. I think the Packers went out and lost this game. Jordan Love, 273, 1 interception. Josh Jacobs for 87 yards and a touchdown. Romeo Dobbs, 91 yards receiving, and Christian Watson, 58 yards receiving. Tucker Kraft gets held 2 for 20, and then obviously the knee injury. So, I mean, the Panthers go down, kick a last-second field goal to win this game. Panthers move on to 5-4. The Packers drop down to 5-2-1. The Packers still definitely control their own destiny. This hurts more morally than I think it hurts actually in any other department. And then if you're a Panthers fan, I feel like this is the complete opposite, that this helps both in the wins department, and it definitely helps morally that you just went out and beat the number 1 seed in the NFC going into the week. So 16-13.
Yeah.
A shootout.
Right. No, I feel like, kind of like we talked about with Chicago, I hate to repeat myself, but I feel like I was skeptical about Carolina and said I know Dallas' defense is not that great, and so Dallas isn't one of the better teams in the league. But putting up 33 against Dallas, and we don't know what Falcons team we get from week to week, but completely smoking them 30-0, and I can't remember who else Carolina's beaten. I said, but they've had some solid wins. I said, but none obviously bigger than Sunday, so it just lets us know that we can compete. And I feel like it kind of solidifies, at least for this year, Bryce Young.
Yeah.
And so, and again, like between him and the running back, I said it's it's just been kind of a pleasant surprise. I said I didn't think that they would be here, and
Hell no.
no. So it's just like
We
I
said
just
the
feel like
Panthers were going to be fighting the Jets for the number 1 overall pick. I mean,
right, and now they're sitting there at 5-4. So kind of one of the feel good stories. And then if you're the Packers, like I said, you have an opportunity where the Bears win, the Vikings win, and then you're the closest competitors. The Lions lose. You have an opportunity. They look great against Pittsburgh the week before, and they have a Panthers team, which is again obviously is played a lot better than what people give them credit for this year. So, but that still should be a winnable game, and you only put up 13 points at home. You just laid an egg. It goes back to what you've talked about the last couple of weeks. Just that you never know what Packers team you're going to get from week to
they're
week.
the best, worst team in the league, man.
So
Like, they have a great record. They have pieces everywhere, but it just
right,
seems like lackluster on both sides of the ball.
right.
Rolling into the last game we're going to recap here. Sunday night football game. The Seattle Seahawks get a huge win over the Washington Commanders, 38-14. Another game that was never close once.
Yeah.
That the 14 points really came up in garbage time.
Yeah,
But Jalen Daniels, who got hurt, 153 yards and an interception. Chris Rodriguez Jr. leads the team in rushing with 65, with Jalen Daniels getting another 51 on the ground. Zach Ertz leads the team in receiving for 46 yards. Debo, 5 for 41. Really just a lackluster day of offense for the Commanders there. The Seahawks, on the other hand, Sam Darnold had himself a day. Obviously, 330 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Only 3 incompletions the whole night, which is a crazy stat line for the NFL. Going 21-24. Went into halftime, what was it, 16 straight? Yeah, he went into halftime, 16 straight completions. I mean, lit it up the first quarter with those 4 touchdowns coming in the first. Kenneth Walker, 42 yards on 11 rushes. And then Jackson Smith-Njigba, who has really solidified himself as wide receiver 1 in the NFL so far this year, with Puka being hurt and Ibuka getting hurt. Got a lot of Ukas at the end of this game. But 129 yards with 0 touchdowns. Cody White, 1 for 6. He had a huge play there. And then Torrey Horton, 4 for 48 and 2 touchdowns. And then the next touchdown went to Elijah Ario for 2 for 29 and a touchdown. So Cooper Kupp was hurt, obviously, or Cooper Kupp was out this game. So Sam Darnold was passing the ball to all these other guys, and it really paid off for him. Obviously, Marshawn Lattimore going down with an ACL early in the game definitely hurt them in the passing game. But I think if you're a Seahawks fan, the future is very bright right now. You're definitely excited for what you got going on, especially in a tough division like the NFC West. And as a Commanders fan, with your quarterback getting hurt the way he did, Twitch and Box definitely put a tweet out there that was like, "Why are we not pulling our quarterback with 7 minutes? Our starting quarterback with 7 minutes left when you're down 31."
yeah.
Like, I get the guy's a competitor and he wants to play and he wants to score there, but I mean I feel like even in his young career he's solidified himself as a franchise quarterback, especially for that
100%.
franchise.
Right.
So obviously, you can, looking back, there's always his what ifs or whatever. Looking back, and I hope he comes back healthy, and I hope still has a great career after this. But I mean, it could have been a lot worse from what it was, and I don't know. That made me twitch as well. It's just like,
Right.
Why are we? I mean, I get that your dog wants to play and he wants to go out there and stay in the game even though you're down 31, but at the same time,
He's already been injured twice this year prior
yeah,
to
exactly. Like I think the Cowboys learned their lesson with that when the Cowboys get down bad in games this year, we've seen that they'll pull Dak and put in Milton.
that. Yeah.
So I think maybe the Commanders should take a play out of their division rival playbook and
Yeah.
look to that in the future when something like this happens, because it's a terrible way to lose your starting quarterback, especially when you're not even in the game. There's no chance of a comeback at all.
Yeah. No, I feel like the Seahawks, taking care of business again, could move up to 6-2 and just solidified themselves, I think, as a top 5 or 6 team in the NFL just because of the balance they have on both sides of the ball. And like you said, even with Cooper Kupp being gone, and said now making that big trade deadline for Snead, from the Saints, getting that other wide receiver, said it was kind of by committee this last week, and Sam Darnold doing a nice job. I said Kenneth Walker is probably a top 10 running back, I said, but didn't have one of his best days on less than 50 yards. but they didn't need to. I mean, so when you start off the first half, 4 touchdowns, 16 of 16. The Seahawks, like you mentioned too, like playing in probably the hardest division in the NFC. That's a good win. Those are the games you're supposed to win, and we take for granted every week. And then those upsets, I said, but Seattle squashed that early. And on the Commanders side, very disheartening because it's a team that we both had and both liked, and a team that's been kind of off and on for the success of the 3 Super Bowls in the 80s, 90s, and just being a historic franchise, but not really just being real, not that relevant over the last 20-some years. And I think it has flashes of RG3. Heisman Trophy winner, phenomenal to watch. Rookie of the Year, Washington wins a playoff game. They get the second round, not the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
And then was never the same again after that. And so, like I said, I think that's the fear. Hopefully, a speedy recovery, a smooth recovery. Like, if you ever listen to him, it's like Daniels is a likable guy. Even going back to LSU, like I like Daniels a lot. But very disappointing. I said, I know that Daniels missed whatever it was, I think 3 games this year.
Yeah.
He already had 2 other injuries. So a big reason why they're in that position to begin with. Like you said, down by 31, like you got to take him out. Obviously, it's not just hindsight's 2020. Like they were not coming back, and now it's just disheartening because we'll see what happens if he misses the. I'm going to assume he misses the year.
Yeah.
Hopefully, he comes back healthy next year and doesn't take a step back. But for a team that literally last year was playing with house money, nobody expected to make the playoffs, and then they finished whatever it was, 12-5, and play 3.5 quarters against the Eagles in the NFC Championship game closer than anybody. They were one of the last teams to beat the Eagles last year.
Yeah.
So really disappointing year if you're a Commanders fan, and I hate to be all doom and gloom. I said, but yeah, it's just that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
They've definitely been bit by the injury bug this year, and then last night just kind of sealed the deal there. But coming up next, we're gonna roll into our picks here. Little look ahead here. Upset alert we talked about is 4-1. We got another good game pick for the upset alert this week. Our game of the week is a solid game of the week, and from our picks as of now, we have 3 different games looking at it here. So we're gonna roll into our picks here after a quick break.
All right, so let's get into our Week 10 games. We're going to start off with Thursday Night Football. Raiders going out to Denver, playing the Broncos. I don't even know what channel this is on. Is this?
This is Prime.
You have the Amazon Prime?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Watch it on Twitch.
Well, I'll buy something on Amazon and get the Prime for free for 30 days, and
There
then
you
I'll
go.
cancel my subscription.
The Broncos are wearing the throwback unis again, or old Orange Crush jerseys. I think the Broncos stay undefeated in them since they brought them back as the retros against. Obviously the Raiders. This game might be a little bit closer than I'd like it to be, just because it's division rival, but also it's the Raiders, guys. Let's take care of business. Let's get out of here. Let's get a mini bye going. Give me the Broncos.
Yeah, I'm not going to overthink this one. Raiders and team in flux and losing
Traded their wide receiver
Myers.
one.
Yeah, and Denver just been on a hot streak. How many have they won in a row now? 6?
I think we're 6.
5 or
5 or
6 for
6.
Denver.
Yeah.
In Denver, throwback unis, offense, other than last week, started clicking.
Yeah.
And have a commanding lead, and Chiefs on a bye this week. I feel like Denver takes care of business at home.
All right, got a Sunday morning game. I'm about tired of those, but it is what it is. The NFL's a moneymaker. So we have the Falcons at the Colts. I'm kind of hoping that this disrupts the Colts a little bit, personally, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, it's the Falcons.
I am definitely interested. The Falcons played the Patriots, who are the number 2 seed in the AFC right now. Played them close last week, only lost by 1 up there. So this game, I think, is going to be a good game, especially with it being, out of country. I think the Colts get it done, though. It'll be interesting to see if Sauce Gardner plays. I doubt he does, just because it's overseas in a different country. Who knows if he has his passport? There's a lot of statistics to this already, on top of new defense to learn. But I think the Colts still get it done, especially because we don't know what Falcons team we're going to get. We've seen them put up 30, and we've seen them get beat by 30. I think who knows what's going to happen. Give me the Colts. I like their consistency better besides last week's.
Well, they played the Patriots close.
Yeah, they played the Patriots close, but still give me the Colts, man.
Yeah. I'm taking the Colts. I still feel like even though they had a blip in the radar last week against Pittsburgh, still had been the best team through the first couple months of the season. I think I don't have it right in front of me, but I think Jonathan Taylor only had 16 carries and nothing really after the second half. So I don't feel like Atlanta's defense is good enough to make them that one-dimensional. I feel like Indy kind of learned their lesson and will be force-feeding Jonathan Taylor the ball a lot more. And I'll give me the Colts.
Yeah. All right, moving on to our first noon game. Toilet bowl again here. Browns at Jets.
Flex it to the Food Network.
I saw that.
Give me the Browns. The Jets just traded away a couple big pieces there on their team. They're definitely in rebuild mode now, which, I mean, the Jets ever not in rebuild mode is a real question we need to ask ourselves.
Maybe that's what we'll call it. This is a rebuild bowl.
Yeah, the rebuild bowl. I'm interested to see what they do with these picks. I texted the group chat earlier and I said, they have 2 first-round picks this year, or they have 3 first-round picks this year. And then next year, and another second-round pick, and then next year they have 2 again. But I'm interested to see what they do with them, or if the Jets are just going to Jets it and somehow take 2 quarterbacks back-to-back years. Who knows what's going to happen?
Right. I saw a pretty good meme
So,
today.
the Browns. I don't know if I said that. But.
I saw a pretty good meme today that said it was like Peter Griffin. He's like, we have an all-pro cornerback. I said, or a draft pick can be anybody. It could even be an all-pro cornerback. So,
Yeah.
Give me the Browns. I haven't really seen a whole lot of Dylan Gabriel, but that Browns defense has still been lights out, even with the record the way they are. And I just feel like they shut down the Jets. I feel like I won't spend a lot of time talking about this game. I feel like they make more plays, and like you said, New York giving away some key pieces.
Yeah. Sorry, our fantasy football group chat just went out, and the guy who's in 3rd place, I'm currently in 4th place. The guy in 3rd place has dropped in the group chat, said, anyone willing to let me borrow a running back this week so I can beat Will?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I traded for Jackson Smith-Jigba today.
Oh, yeah.
I traded away most of my farm to get him, but I feel like I'm in a good place. But, I mean, I enjoy that he's dropping that in the group chat.
Yep. And I just beat him to take the number 1 spot. So,
Yeah, but anyways, to get back into the picks.
All right, so next game, our upset alert this week. Is that where we're at?
Yep.
You got me.
Yeah, flustered here. Yeah, upset alert this week. We got Jags.
Jags is the Texans. Okay.
Texans. To which I'll let you start out with this one. You can.
I'll give me the Texans. I was tempted. I'm glad that I went with the Broncos. I trusted that offense again last week. I said, but I've been saying all year Texans defense is legitimate. They pretty much handled. I feel like they kept Denver in check, and then the week before I called them on my upset. So I hate to have a repeat customer already, but I called it on the Niners upset 2 weeks ago, and a 3rd straight home game at Houston, divisional game. I think it'll be close. Jacksonville, even though it's a bad Raiders team, offense looked better last week. Got some key pieces for Travis Hunter being down. We'll see if they get brought up to speed this week or used at all. So I said I think it'll be a close game, but I feel like Houston. I say this and said, but a lot of it's going to depend on if C.J. Stroud plays. I'm putting it on the fact of I'm assuming, and I haven't seen anything that says that he's out. So a game like this, I feel like if Stroud doesn't play, then yeah, but you have to make a pick. So I like the Texans defense, and I know the Jags have been up and down. They beat a couple of good teams. They've lost some mediocre teams. But I feel like the Texans have been in about every game they played in. And in Houston, divisional game, I'm willing to take that risk that the Texans get another upset this week.
Yeah. I'm on the other side of this. I think Jacoby Myers coming in. I don't know necessarily how much involvement he'll have after being traded on this week, but I like the Jags in this one. I'll give the Texans props. I mean, made the Broncos work for the win again. The Broncos. We'll talk about it later on our edition of Twitch and Box Sports Talk today to the Steelers, Chiefs, and Broncos. But this game, I'm taking the Jags in this one. I like the Jags coming off the bye, getting hot against the Texans team that lost, last second field goal last week. But I think the Jags get this one done, traveling over there to Texas and Houston. So,
all right, Buffalo at Miami. Bills, Fins.
Bills. Not really.
Bills. Yeah, I mean,
The Fins.
Bills definitely feel like after the bye, got back to what I feel like made them the Bills, and Dolphins have been one of the bottom
I
3 or
think-
4 teams in the NFL. So
I think kind of crazy. Kind of forgot to put this on the podcast because I was kind of mesmerized by it when it happened. But the Dolphins fired their GM, and they said they'll keep McDaniels to the end of the year and then evaluate where they're at. So my bet that McDaniels to be the first one fired. He's not even going to be fired within the season now. So that takes that one out the window. But it'll be interesting to see what happens down there in Miami. But yeah, the Bills.
Yeah, he definitely lost his stuff a couple times during the game this
Yeah.
week. I mean, just throwing stuff, and
Yeah,
he knows where it's at.
I think he's going to be I think he's a really good offensive coordinator, but I don't think he was quite ready for a NFL head coaching job.
and then you're stuck with Tua.
Yeah, you're also stuck with a quarterback who
Has
plays
pink
better
eye.
with pink eye.
That's all right, though. Takes us to our game of the week. We got the New England Patriots rolling down to Florida, playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, I'm excited for this game. Obviously, it's our game of the week. The Patriots have been about the hottest team in the league so far this year. And then looking back, the Buccaneers, they got a little banged up before the bye, dropped that one game. But now they're coming back off the bye healthy. Bucky Irving's proposed to return this week. Chris Godwin's supposed to be proposed to return this week. Ibuka's supposed to be back 100% this week. So, they're getting some pieces back. So that's why I'm taking the Bucs in this one. I think the Bucs with their pieces back can beat about anybody in the league. But with that being said, obviously, the Patriots are a good, formidable defense. They're a good offense right now. Drake May's playing lights out football. But give me Baker Mayfield and the edge. Baker Mayfield brings it home to get it done against the Patriots.
Yeah, so there's a reason why we picked this one as the game of the week. Patriots are legitimate. They're like the old Patriots in the sense of they don't beat themselves. Solid defensively. Drake May having a solid campaign. That's Mike Vrabel's guy. But Tampa Bay is another one of those ones that's top 6 or 7 before the bye. They had a lot of injuries and they looked kind of flat against the Lions. Yeah. But they lost to a good Lions team. And so other than that, Baker Mayfield was on that short list for MVP. And like you said, having all those guys come back this week in Tampa Bay, I feel like they're just a step above where the Patriots. I think the Patriots are a solid team. But I feel like Tampa Bay at home, Tampa Bay reminds them why they're a legitimate NFC contender. Oh, yeah. So I like them. Give me the Bucs as well.
All right, next one we got rolling out, the Giants without Cam going to Chicago playing the Bears.
Yeah.
No Scadaboo, so
I think Chicago gets this one done without Scabadoo, Malik Neighbors. You got to feel for Jackson Dart. They made that game a little interesting last week.
Yeah.
They made him work for it, but still lost. So give me the Bears in this one. Bears coming off a crazy win. I think they'll roll into this one and take care of business against the Giants.
Right.
And it's also not on that shitty MetLife Stadium field, so.
Right. Give me the Bears as well. It's at home. Chicago, 5-3?
Yeah.
Winning 5 out of 6 or something like that.
They've been hot.
Red hot. Caleb Williams has played also another one of those young quarterbacks from last year that's playing really, really well. And I like for them to take the momentum from last week and that win against the Bengals and carry that over. I said, Jackson Dart doing all that he could last week. Like you said, keep it close. Then the late turnover kind of cost him. I said, but has played lights out. I said, exciting to see what the Giants will be next year. I said, but give me Chicago at home.
Well, you guys both took Chicago, but somebody here didn't. So who would have taken the Giants?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What makes you pick the Giants?
Yeah.
Well, even though Cam Scadaboo, Cam Scooby-Doo, got hurt, Jackson Dart, with his throwing ability, he can pass the ball downfield. Their defense is pretty good, but the Bears, they're coming off of momentum. And, crazy win. It's going to be a close game, high scoring.
So you guys going to put a little side bet wager on this, you and your dad?
I still owe him. I told him this week I would still do it.
Yeah.
I still owe him. So I'll send you that video once that happens.
All right. So after I think this is a booger eating game. This is what I think.
Yeah, you
this
think
is.
this is what this is turning into?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Loser.
I got
has
the
to-
Bears.
yeah.
I'll take that bet.
You gotta eat
Eat
It's
the
a-
other booger.
it's
Eat
a-
one of my boogers.
the Booger Eater Bowl.
I'm not
Booger eater
going
bowl.
to blow my nose all weekend.
He's gonna let it sit.
Right.
Ugh.
Take a hair dryer.
Harden that up.
That's disgusting.
All right. Well, with Lamar Jackson back, we got Baltimore rolling up there north to the Minnesota Vikings. What do you think? Another split game here.
Yeah. I'm going to take the Vikings in this one. I think the Vikings, upset the Lions. Obviously, the Lions missed a field goal there to tie it up, and then, if that game goes to overtime, I think the Lions get it done. But I'm still not confident in the Ravens. I mean, yes, they beat the Miami Dolphins Thursday Night Football. Good for them. I feel like everybody can beat them. But, yeah, I like the Vikings in this one. I think J.J. McCarthy kind of showed flashes last week. I think if I'm worried about that run game a little bit, but I think the Ravens are legit, man. I
Well,
think the Ravens choke.
This is where Twitch says the Ravens start putting together their streak.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still got them in the playoffs. So
Yeah. You laugh now, but I mean, I will give this for the Vikings. I will say this, that obviously we just talked about a little bit ago, breaking down that Lions game, that holding Montgomery
Yeah,
and them to less than 70 yards. So and Gibbs, but give me the Ravens. I mean, as much as I hate to say it, I don't want it to happen, but I really feel like Baltimore's going to finish like a 7-3, 8-2 down the stretch, and probably still make the playoffs or be right on the outskirts. But with Lamar Jackson back, they look like it wasn't so much about who they beat; it was more just about finding their rhythm, a tune-up game against Miami. After the week before, their defense playing a lot better the last 2 weeks, more Raven defense than more like what we're used to seeing from them, and having guys healthy back themselves. On top of they won with the backup quarterback now against a good Chicago team, so I feel like Baltimore. Minnesota's been up and down all year. They lost to in my opinion, like a good but not great Charger team. They lost to us. They lost to some good but not great teams. Getting smoked. They're one of the teams that got beat by the Falcons early in the year. But I don't feel like the Vikings are there or a real contender, and I feel like Baltimore's at their best is still a top 8 or 10 team. So I know their record. People laugh that they're 3-5. I said, but. They also lost early in the year before Jackson got hurt. They also lost to the Chiefs, the Lions, and the Bills, in which they choked that game. But give me the Ravens. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that you guys are both right. But I just feel like the Ravens win, and it's not even going to honestly be close. I feel like the defense shuts them down. Derrick Henry gets going. Lamar Jackson makes enough plays, and Minnesota doesn't have the defense to keep it to stop him.
Yeah, keep it
And I feel like Baltimore wins this one fairly easily.
all right, so we got the Saints going down to North Carolina to play. The Panthers have been
hot.
They've been hot.
Like the
not a doubt.
I like the Panthers in this one. I mean, the Saints trade away their number 2 wide receiver today. They trade away their starting tackle today. Saints are Satan.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, this one. I'm going with the Panthers. Like I said last week, and over the last month and a half, the Panthers have shown me that they are legit. So I like Bryce Young and the inconsistency of the Saints. Like I said, losing some key pieces and a banged-up defense going against that offense has played really well for Carolina. Give me the Panthers to take care of business against a divisional rival at home.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Well, that gets us out of our noon games. First 3:05 game, Arizona Cardinals going up to play the Seahawks.
Yeah, with this game, I mean, with how the Seahawks looked on Sunday Night Football, I think it's going to take a lot to stop them. And shout out the Arizona defense for keeping that Cowboys offense under wraps for most of the game until late, but keeping Dak under wraps there and getting the Monday Night Football win. With that being said, I don't think they're going to be able to keep the Seahawks offense under wraps. That's how good they've been. I mean, Sam Darnold 16 for 16 last week. I don't see him. I don't know if he goes 16 for 16 this week, but Seahawks, I mean, it's also a hard place to play in division.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's all I really got.
This is another one to me. It's kind of like the Ravens or the Panthers. I said I don't even see it being that close. I know it's, again, another divisional game. The Cards looked a lot better against the Cowboys, but the Seahawks have a legitimate defense and get pressure on them. Yeah. And especially if Kyler Murray is not able to play. Seattle's legit, and that they said Seattle's also them and Arrowhead were tied for first on the loudest stadiums
Yeah.
to play at. So it's is it Quest or Safeco? What do they call it now? Safeco's the baseball
Yeah.
field, but.
I don't know.
But Seattle's one of the toughest places to play. I feel like the balance they have. I'd be surprised if they don't get the new receiver, like at least a couple into the playbook.
Yeah.
Some like get him
He's just a deep threat, man.
right. And I feel like I like Seattle to take care of business at home.
All right, 325. We got Detroit playing Washington. At Washington, so I mean,
Detroit. I like Detroit in this one. I mean, with Washington losing their starting quarterback this week, I feel like vibes are going to be down for sure when
Right.
you lose your franchise. I mean, Mariota will come out and he'll do what he can. I mean, Mariota's
he's had a couple good.
yeah.
I mean,
like we
couple
said,
good games.
Mariota's a serviceable backup. He can still go out there and sling the rock. But with that
not
being,
against Detroit.
yeah, I mean
Yeah.
Detroit, like we said, Hutch got re-upped last week. Obviously, didn't get a sack last week, so I think he's going to be looking to get a sack against a worse offensive line, obviously up there in Washington. And I think Gibbs and Montgomery, their run defense of Washington hasn't been the best in the world, so I think Dan Campbell will definitely hammer at home that we need to get the run game going to open up the pass game like they have in the past. And I can see Gibbs and Montgomery both. I mean, Gibbs will probably go over 100, and Montgomery will have another 75 on the ground. I mean,
I feel like that's going to be the formula for the Lions. I said I don't feel like the Commanders have the rush defense to stop the Lions, and they don't have the offense. So Detroit will, I think, be conservative, and Dan Campbell's very much that. As much as they can air it out with some of the best of them when they're on, Dan Campbell's very smash mouth football, and I think that they know that if they don't turn the ball over, they're probably going to win this game. So Lions coming off a tough loss that they should have probably won. I feel there's a bad taste in their mouth because they were one of those teams on the short list fighting for a 1 seed with 2 losses. So I feel like they're going to take out some aggression, and Washington's just kind of they might sneak a couple games out later this year. I said, but just I feel like probably feeling rightfully so bad for themselves and feeling kind of down. And Detroit's going to be motivated, and Detroit's just a way better team, flat out. So, and let's not forget too, like this was the Lions team that finished 15-2 last year, and then the Commanders put up 45 on them in Detroit. So,
this is true.
So this is a payback. This is a team that knocked out Detroit from a Cinderella season last year. So Detroit's going to have a little extra on there, I feel like.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, so I don't know which game we'll get. I feel like that's the one we're going to get. I think the next one, though, will be a better game, and that's the Rams playing in San Francisco against the 49ers.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be a great game, good divisional game. I have the Rams getting this one done, though, because the 49ers, Twitch already said it earlier. I don't know if it was on the pod or not, but I don't trust the 49ers offense to get anything done, and that defense is banged up. Both teams are good. Shanahan will definitely keep the 49ers in the game with if it's Mac Jones or Brock Purdy starting. I haven't seen them make the call yet. But I think Brock Purdy's supposed to be back. With that being said, the Rams offense has been flying around. That young defense is only getting better by the week. So I think the Rams get it done in Santa Clara.
Yeah, I mean, another divisional game. The first meeting between these two was on Thursday Night Football, and the Niners, that was a crazy game where Rams were winning most of the game. They turned the ball over, and then the Niners took the lead late, and then the Rams tied it with no time remaining on the clock. But they also had the chance to win it at the game. Like they had a chance to win, then they fumbled, and then the Rams, that is, like the Niners took the lead by a field goal, and then the Rams were about ready to score a touchdown, then they fumbled within the 10-yard line. So I feel like there's some payback. So they've already, got the first win in L.A., and I feel like I said, I agree that Shanahan and San Francisco is kind of a sneaky place, tough place to play, but against a divisional team, like they're used to it. Matthew Stafford's played absolutely phenomenal the last 3 weeks, so I like the Rams to hold serve and get payback on the Niners. And we talked about this one between the Pats, Bucks, and this game being the game of the week is just because I think both of us have 3 teams out of the NFC West making it to the playoffs between them and the Seahawks. So a lot at stake. That should be entertaining. I agree. I think it's probably the best 3:00 game.
Yeah.
Well, not everybody again picked the Rams. Finn picked the Niners. What are you thinking down there, Finn? What's your take on the Niners? Why do you think they're going to beat the Rams?
Christian McCaffrey, definitely.
Hell yeah. My fantasy running back. My overall first round draft pick.
Christian McCaffrey definitely gonna get yards, get the easy run plays. Brock Purdy or
Mac Jones.
Mac Jones will definitely get the ball out there. Not if Mac Jones actually plays, not as good as Brock Purdy, but still. Isn't George Kittle out?
George Kittle's back, and then Ricky Purcell, their second round draft pick last year, who got shot, was hurt, and then came back this year, and now he's been dealing with the foot injuries coming back as well. So 49ers are getting some pieces back for this game, which will be interesting to see how they come back and respond.
This year they've definitely not gotten as much injuries as they did in the past years.
Yeah, their defense is just hurt, man. They got Fred Warner's out, Nick Bosa's out. Their first round
Brock
draft
Purdy.
pick at D tackle's been out, or is out now with an ACL.
Yeah.
So
I think Ayuk missed some time.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think
Ayuk's still out, I
Nick
think.
Bosa's on like the Colts now.
that's the brother, and that's the Bills.
Yeah, he's on the Bills now.
Yeah,
Shout out
Joey.
him. Shout out him getting in Patrick Mahomes' face talking shit.
Yeah,
He said, "Remember me from the Chargers, bitch."
right.
Well,
Have you ever heard those
You
guys
couldn't,
talk?
because you couldn't say that. So
Yeah.
when
Have
you
you
played
ever
for
heard
the
those?
Chargers,
Have you ever heard those the Bosa brothers talk?
yeah,
They talk about exactly how you think they would.
yeah,
Just big old meatheads that
Yeah.
just love football.
But yeah,
Okay, well, Finn likes the Niners.
well, I don't know what you guys are doing Sunday night, but if you guys want to get out here to the Backstage Pass, we do have what's going to be, I think, a great game. Sunday Night Football. We got the Steelers at the Chargers. And as I look down here to see our picks once again,
We're split.
Jiminy Christmas. What's going on here?
Yeah.
Box.
I feel like the Steelers' defense came out. They obviously played better than they had the last couple of weeks. They definitely heard Twitch's rant from last week about the defense being
I feel like it.
one of the highest paid defenses in the league and coming out laying an egg. And then coming out last week and shutting down the number one offense in the league the way they did and getting a dominant win. The Chargers kind of been struggling as well. So for that reason, I'm taking the Steelers. For the Chargers, they've been kind of hot or cold this year across the board. Joe Alt also is a big reason. I know they just traded for a new tackle, but I think the Steelers defense will get a good pass rush going against this Chargers offensive line that hasn't been necessarily looking good. You just gotta. I think it'll be a good game because of the secondary, though. Because the Chargers have weapons all over the field, so it's kind of hard. You have to pick and choose who you're going to take away and who you're not going to take it away. But I still like the Steelers to get it done. I think A-Rod's experience gets him the win in this one of being a smart, high caliber football player.
Huh.
Well,
Gosh, I want to record this right now.
If you pick the Steelers and we're split, I guess
Yeah,
that
I
kind of
guess.
gives away where. No, I said I really am a fan, but I call it unbiasedly. So I was heavily wrong last week. On the one side, you can't argue with me on as far as like the defense and the pass defense or the number 2 receiver. So I do know my team.
Yeah,
And that being said, I'm also 3-5 on picking Steelers games. So I hope I go to 3-6.
Yeah.
Put up that Bengals record. Sorry, man. Catching strays now. But
well, after that 1 week, after the Bengals beat the Steelers, I think Finn deserves everything that gets thrown back at him.
right. Yeah.
He said they were going to the Super Bowl last time I
Right.
remember.
Right. No, I a much better defensive performance last week. I want to say I gave them their flowers at the beginning of the show. Jalen Warren having 2 touchdowns, having a great game last week. Freiermuth getting in the end zone. I was happy to see. That's one thing that was a non-call that I was happy to see, that there was talk about Pat Freiermuth being traded, and I think he's the best tight end of the 3. But, I do expect this game to be a 24-21, 27-24, chess match back and forth. I said Aaron Rodgers again last week, just being that steady hand, nothing always fancy. So there were some signs of life, and I hope they can carry that over. Playing a lot more zone defense than guys running free and man for Pittsburgh. My biggest thing is I don't know how we're going to stop Allen and Johnston. Our pass defense hasn't been that great, and I just trust that Justin Herbert's on that short list of good quarterbacks, and when we've been carved up by worse.
Yeah.
And I like, for the Chargers, I'm not going to be surprised at all because I feel like on a neutral field or even in Pittsburgh, like it really is a pretty even matchup, 50-50. And, to me, we talked about it from the beginning of the year. In my eyes, I know that you two have Pittsburgh hopefully still winning the division. I have Pittsburgh on the outside looking in, but the first 2 times I had them. But to me, this game, looking way ahead, 2 months down the season, this game very well could be who decides who's a 6 or 7 seed or not making the playoffs at all.
Yeah,
this could be a
they're both-
tiebreaker with both of them finishing. I anticipate 9-8, 10-7. This game could come back to be the tiebreaker. So it's a huge game. I hope we win so we have that tiebreaker. And I always didn't like the Chargers. There's really not a whole lot of teams I don't really like. I just was never a big Phillip Rivers or Sean Lights Out Merriman twitching more than the guy with Tourette's after drinking a Mountain Dew and an energy drink. I swear to God. Anyway, yeah, I feel like, no, granted, I think half the stadium's going to be Pittsburgh because there's always,
Yeah, it's always basically a home game.
it's always a home team for the other team, and Pittsburgh's known for having fans that travel as good as, if not the best in the NFL. So it's not as much of an advantage, but on prime time, Chargers being up and down, Herbert being in his prime, I expect them to play well. I expect it to be close. I said I'm not going to be shocked if we do win, but I'm going with the Chargers at home. We'll see.
On top of a great Sunday night football game, which I love a great Sunday night football game. That's what's killing me about those early games overseas. So I will probably skip out. I don't know. I can't skip out on the Falcons and Colts because you got to find out where the Colts are really at. And I'm hoping they catch a big L. But that's a long day of football. And then you just turn around and go back to work all sleepy-eyed. And then you come back home. You got to get excited about the Monday night football game because we have what could be the game of the week, in my opinion. We got the Eagles at the Packers.
Yeah, very much so. Could definitely be the game of the week. The 2 top teams in the NFC playing each other, playing out there. Packers obviously losing for lack of a better term, embarrassing way to the Panthers. Then the Eagles coming off a bye week. I'm interested to see how this game goes. I'm glad that this is a primetime game where I know I definitely get to watch it. So I like the Eagles in this one, though, coming off the bye. I'm not a big Packers believer. I was early on in the season, but as I've said multiple times, they're the best, worst team in the league. And I don't think the Eagles are a team that you can come back on late in the fourth. So that Eagles defense is good. They just traded for Jalen Phillips, who was kind of been hurt. But if we remember back 2 years ago when the Miami Dolphins went on a little bit of that run, he was that edge rusher. Him and Bradley Chubb were the two. Like they were getting put in conversation of top 2 pass rushing duo in the league.
Yeah.
So I think once he gets good, Brandon Graham came out of retirement before the bye, so it'll be interesting to see how much he plays, how much he is used there. But I think that Eagles defense just shuts down the Packers attack, especially lack of Tucker Kraft now this week.
Yeah. No, had it not, our rule always is like if it's a primetime game, it's not the game of the week.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I could see the 2 primetime games. I feel like this is one week where the primetime games, both of them are really solid.
Yeah, great part.
I mean,
Thursday night football.
I'm looking forward to the Niners game and the Rams and the Bucks Pats, and I said, but this might be the game of the week just because we don't ever know what Packers team we're going to get. I said, but this could be another one of those we talk about implications if Green Bay becomes more consistent and goes on a run themselves. This could be a fight for who's that number 1 seed if Green Bay were to win the division. And he said both defenses. You have Micah Parsons. I said I know that Green Bay lost last week. I said, but their defense still played pretty good. On top of you have the Eagles coming off a bye, and then looking like themselves. And so I think it's going to be a close game. But with when it's been against the Chiefs and the Chiefs and Eagles, or against the Buccaneers, when they've had to show up, the Eagles have shown up and remind everybody why and I still don't feel like they've had their breakout game yet this year. They've been kind of in some ways different style, but kind of like the Chiefs last year, not always fancy, but just finding a way to get a win.
Well, yeah, and if you remember before the bye, the Eagles, Saquon had his coming out game with.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Yeah, he had 240 total yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean, so
Yeah.
he got rolling before the bye. So I'm interested
Yeah.
to see.
I think it's going to be a close game, but I feel like the Eagles are still the cream of the crop of the NFC, and I feel like they get it done. against the Packers.
Well, our bye weeks this week are the Bengals, the
Much
Cowboys,
needed. Much needed.
the Chiefs, and the always on a bye week, the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I feel like this is huge for the Chiefs, the Cowboys for sure, and the Bengals. Coming off that bye, it'd be interesting to see. It always worries me. Andy Reid's record off the bye is like 101 or something. He has a crazy good record off the bye, and of course he's playing the Broncos coming off the bye.
That's what I'm hoping for.
So
Because they got the Colts, Cowboys, Texans. I mean, they've got
they have a little bit of a
crazy
gauntlet
stretch.
coming up. Yeah. So I don't know if the bye really does anything for the Bengals or the Titans. I mean,
I saw early reports that the Titans or the bye week's actually favored by 7 on the spread against the
yeah,
Texans this week.
I would take that line no matter where it's at. Yeah.
All right.
All right, well, that concludes Twitch and Buck Sports Talk Week 10 of the NFL edition. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe both on X and YouTube. Got any or if you want to be a guest on our show, drop a comment down below or get in contact with one of us. Or you can hit the email that's up on the YouTube and or the X account, and we can get in contact with you across the board. But hope everybody has a good weekend. Hope all your bets hit. Hope you stay safe. It's supposed to be a little bit not as cold as it was last weekend, so maybe you can get outside and watch some games in your hot tub if you have one or whatever.
Right on.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening. And as always, huge shout out to Greg for having us out here.
My pleasure.
Every Tuesday. I hope everybody has a great week, and we'll see you guys next week.